Hi everyone.
Hi everyone. It's a bit like Jedward, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm Amber and this
I'm
is Marco. Together we are, what would we be? Marber? Amco? Hi everyone, my name's Amber Izzo and this is my husband Marco. We are going to be filming some TTC Diaries for the Positive Birth Company. So we are going to be filming quite a few different videos, just taking you on our journey to parenthood, I suppose.
Yep.
We have been together 8 years. And we thought for our first video, we would just do a bit of an introduction, just talk to you about who we are, where we're at in our journey, why we're doing this, just so you can get to know us really. So yeah, I mean, we've been together 8 years, just over 8 years now.
Yeah.
And 6 of those we've been trying. We have kind of the short story is that we've had 2 failed cycles of IVF and we are currently in the process of preparing for our 3rd cycle. So it's definitely been a roller coaster. I don't know, it's really been quite the journey. I think we started trying in 2015. I think it was New Year's Day, I just decided I wasn't going to take my pill anymore. And that was that. Like I don't think we actually sat and had the conversation of we'll start trying, did we?
No, not really. It wasn't a conversation that we thought, right, this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3. It was just something that we just went. It
just kind of happened, didn't it? I think I'd been on the combined pill since I was 15. So I'd been on it for a really, really long time. And I just started having really not very nice side effects. Like I'd feel sick pretty much as soon as I took it. And it just got to the point where I was fed up of it. So I decided I wanted to come off it. And I don't think we ever really started actively trying. It was just we started not trying to not get pregnant. We just kind of
It was just kind of a...
Let's just be a bit irresponsible.
Let's just be just a bit more carefree about it.
Yeah. But I don't think we ever expected... I think we expected to fall pregnant just out of the blue, didn't we? I think we just expected it to happen. And then it just didn't. But I don't think we ever really sat down and had the conversation of starting trying until maybe about a year in. Because I think that's when we kind of realised that things weren't working the way they should have done. I think we expected it to happen. And when it wasn't happening, we then started to question why it wasn't happening. My periods were so out of sync, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think we just knew there was a bit of an issue. But then the following January, so after about a year, we had a false positive, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I think that's when everything kind of spiraled into really trying and becoming quite obsessed with it. Because I think I'd convinced myself I was pregnant and I'd 2 tests in one box came back as positive and they were digital ones and they both came up as pregnant. And I remember I went to work and hadn't even told you.
Yeah.
Came home, told you, and you were elated, you were so happy. And then I went to the doctors and they were like, no, you're not.
That was a good day, that.
I mean, for you it was.
It was a great day.
But I don't think I'll ever forget that. I don't think I'll ever forget the look on your face when I told you we were pregnant and then having to come back and tell you that I wasn't. Like, it was, I think being in that doctor's office and being told that I wasn't, it was possibly one of the most humiliating things ever. Like, if you want to talk about wasting doctors' time, I think that was a really good example of it. Like, I just felt like such an idiot. But I think that's when... Well, no, I shouldn't, because the test came back. But you know when you feel like you've made something up and you're sat there and did I envision this?
Yeah.
That was a really awkward situation to be in, definitely. But I think it was after that we actually started trying and I started tracking my ovulation. I was tracking my cycles. I was tracking everything. Had every app going. I was drinking all these teas. I was sticking my legs up in the air for 10, 15 minutes. I lived on Mum's Net. I think that's when it got a bit wild, didn't it? But nobody would take us seriously. Like, every time I'd go to the doctors, I just kept getting told that I was young, and that it would happen and to just relax and all those things. And
all the All the buzzwords.
That's it. And then no matter how much we relaxed, nothing happened. So yeah, it was quite a difficult time, wasn't it? But I don't think either of us ever really accepted that there was probably an issue, because I think I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome. That must have been about 2 years in, I think, about a year after that.
Yeah, roughly that.
Yeah, was it? Yeah. And even after that, I don't think we ever expected that we wouldn't be able to. And then we got married, so we decided that we wouldn't pursue the investigations actively until after we'd got married and we'd been on our honeymoon.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of full frontal after that, wasn't it? We were just thrown in, and I had my laparoscopy, which is keyhole surgery where they investigate basically everything to do with your uterus. It's a bit like an MOT. And I was told then that I had 2 fully blocked fallopian tubes. And that's kind of when I started blogging and vlogging everything. I think I came out of hospital still incredibly high on general anaesthetic and decided it'd be a really good idea to put everything out there. I think because I was in such a bad place. And I didn't want to keep having to repeat myself to everybody who knew that I'd been in hospital. And I was also really sick of, I think because we just got married, we were getting a lot of the, when are you having children? And I think the week after our wedding, we went to a christening, didn't we? And I think we got asked so many times and kept getting, no, you'll be next. And so I just told everybody as a, stop asking me. And it worked. People stopped asking me. But that was kind of where we ended up. So I started kind of blogging about it then and vlogging about it. And I suppose 3 years post-diagnosis, we're here. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think we started IVF in 2019, didn't we? And again, we documented the entire thing, but we didn't make it to transfer on that cycle. That cycle was just a write-off, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. We went into the first one really optimistic, didn't we? Mm. Like, it was just a case of, well, it's just Amber's fallopian tubes, and my morphology is low, but, we can do all these great things, and, there should be a doddle, you're young, and all the other things, and yeah, we went into it really optimistic, thinking that, do you know what, we'll probably only need one shot. We were all thinking, oh yeah, probably we'll have twins as well, we've got twins in the family. My mum is a twin, Amber's dad is a twin, so we were just like, oh, the chances, they're great. And then, yeah, it didn't turn out quite as fairy tale as that.
I think I wasn't responding to the medication so well. So with IVF, you inject yourself with hormones we were on the short protocol, which means it's the shortest version, if you like. And I think 11 days I was injecting, and then they collected my eggs surgically, and we only got 6 eggs, which isn't a great amount for IVF. With IVF, you do expect a larger amount of eggs, and I only got, it was 6 or 7. I think it was 7 actually, off the top of my head. And I think only, I can't even remember how many of them fertilised.
3?
3 fertilised, 2 or 3 fertilised.
3, I think, 3.
And they leave them for 3 to 5 days before they transfer them. And we got to day 3, and they decided that they weren't going to do a transfer on day 3 because that one of them was growing really fast, one of them was growing really slow. So they decided to wait till day 5 to let it develop into what they call a blastocyst, which is where the embryo starts to hatch. And on day 5, we were on the train to London.
Yeah.
And we got a phone call while we were on the train to basically say, don't bother, because your embryo hasn't developed any further. It's not survived, and therefore there's nothing to transfer.
So we just got off at the next stop, didn't we?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And we
just got off at the next stop, and then just got on the next train home.
And I just remember standing at Huntingdon train station, just shell-shocked. I think that's the only way to describe it. I think when I was diagnosed as infertile, and when I was told that I couldn't have children, so after the laparoscopy, I was diagnosed with 2 fully blocked fallopian tubes, and I was told that the only way that I can conceive is through IVF. And the 6 months after that diagnosis, I just spiraled. And I think my mental health took the worst dive it could possibly take. Like I literally hit rock bottom. I didn't want to be alive, and they were really dark 6 months, weren't they? Like
horrible.
they tested our
horrible.
I think they tested our relationship beyond belief.
Big
and
time.
I think if things hadn't have changed when they did, I don't think we'd be together now. I think we were very lucky that some friends came down to see us and everything kind of came out, didn't it? And after that, I then had my fallopian tubes removed, which made a huge difference, I think. I think it definitely made me accept that that was it and IVF was our only option. So after that, things improved. And standing at that train station, I think there was that fear, wasn't there, of it all coming back again.
Yeah.
And it was horrible. So then we went into it again, and I don't think we were so optimistic the second time. I think we were a bit
less so,
but they'd also changed my medication and things like that. So we thought, okay, maybe this will be...
Yeah, you always go into it optimistic. Like you always go, there's always that hope and that, maybe naive optimism to a degree. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. But they found out, I think, in my first scan during that cycle that I'd got a great big cyst on my ovary. They let us proceed, though. I think initially they were trying to convince us to cancel the cycle, but we decided against it because it wasn't producing any hormones, so it wasn't harmful to me as such. It was just going to be monitored. And that cycle we did get the whole way through, and we got to transfer. We only had one embryo to transfer that wasn't quite ready. It wasn't developing at the rate it should have done. But we had that transferred, and we don't have a baby, so that didn't work either. So now we've changed clinics, and we've made certain lifestyle changes, and we are continuing to make those changes. And we are going to be starting our third cycle of IVF within the next 6 months. So this is kind of going to be following our journey, I suppose. And there are going to be certain aspects of it that we're going to be filming. I film a lot of it anyway. Over on my YouTube channel, I've documented the first cycle, the second cycle, and all the ugly bits in between, and all the pretty bits in between. I think I don't really leave much out, do I?
No.
It is very much was that your stomach?
That was my throat. Like, I don't know why it made a really weird noise. Like a gargly, weird noise.
But that in a nutshell, I think, is our TTC journey, if you like. I think it's definitely been a bit of a roller coaster. We're definitely very involved in the TTC community, if you like, in that, like I say, I do my blogging, I do my YouTube. Not so much you. It's rare that Marco's really involved in all of that.
It's a cameo.
It's a cameo appearance. He thinks he's a celebrity.
I'm getting paid with pizza. Though, so.
Yeah, that's it. Getting paid with pizza. He's not lying either. But I think I started, you can take some credit. You've supported me the whole way through.
Oh, thanks, yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely very much involved in the TTC community, in that I started a campaign during Fertility Week last year for equal treatment to IVF on the NHS. So you may or may not be aware, but across England, where you live determines your entitlement to IVF treatment. The eligibility criteria varies across the whole country anyway, in the sense that certain places have stricter criteria than others in terms of things like your BMI or your age or your AMH level, so like your egg count, whether or not your partner has children from a previous relationship. I don't know why I looked at you then like you do, unless you have some secret love child you want to tell me about now.
No.
They're the main criteria. There's quite a few more, but you are entitled to either 3 cycles, 2 cycles, 1 cycle, or none at all, depending on where you live. So we live in Cambridgeshire, and where we live, we're not entitled to any IVF at all. So we've had to privately fund all of ours. Whereas if we lived 10 minutes away, we would be entitled to 1 cycle. If we lived half an hour away, we'd be entitled to 2 cycles, and I think 45, 50 minutes, and we'd be entitled to 3. So it's really, really bonkers. It's really unjust. There's only 3 places in the entire country that don't offer any cycles of IVF at all. So that is something that we are very passionate about. And so we have been leading that campaign. That campaign now has over 30,000 signatures. The link for that, I do believe, is in the description box below. But that's kind of what I do. I do a lot of work around infertility and unfair treatment and just making it less of a taboo. Because I think whenever people are trying to conceive, they don't talk about it. And when it's hard, it's a really isolating, lonely time. Like, I think until we had my laparoscopy, we didn't tell anyone except your dad that we were trying, did we?
No.
I think I went for this laparoscopy and remember telling my parents that I was going for this laparoscopy, and they were quite confused because they didn't know that we were even at that point.
No.
Because you don't talk about it, and I really disagree with that, and I disagree with all the taboos around it and the stigma around it, and I think we as a couple are quite open.
Yeah, I think each to their own, obviously. You know, some people prefer to be quite secret about it and keep it between them, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. I think whatever works for...
I think it's, obviously it's personal choice, but what I mean is I think a lot of people don't talk about it because they feel like
there's a stigma attached to
that's it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a common question of, when are you having children? And as a woman, I think there's a lot attached to that. So that's kind of why I suppose we do what we do. And I think that's us in a nutshell so far, really. So I hope you enjoy following our journey. I don't really like the word journey. I feel like I'm on the X Factor, in all honesty. But I hope you enjoy us being part of the TTC Diaries. And yeah, you can obviously follow my journey in real time over on my channel, on my Instagram. But also we will be uploading videos on a regular basis to the Positive Birth Company. And it is an absolute pleasure to be involved in this. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm going to go pay him and pizza.